You are tuned in to Stewart Spotlight Podcast live with your host, William Stewart Jr. with topics of everyday life. Tune in every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Today's guest, LaShonta Salter. Medicare Parts. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode. And now your host, William Stewart Jr. Welcome. Good evening, and welcome to Stewart Spotlight Podcast. My name is William Stewart Jr., and I am your host this evening. I hope everyone had a wonderful week and getting ready for the weekend as usual. This month has flown by so fast. Today is Friday, September 26th, 2025. Well, I guess they have lifted the First Amendment because Jimmy Kimmel was back live on his live show. So I guess we can say what we want to say without bleeping out. But anyway, I need your support. And now you know I'm always asking for your support. Now you're asking me, how could I support you? I'm glad you asked me, how could you support me? I need you to do this. I need your support. I need you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and make sure you turn on your notifications. So therefore, every time you hear this, you know that Stewart Spotlight Podcast is live. Yes, that's right. Make sure you turn on your notifications. So therefore, every time you hear the bell, that you know that Stewart Spotlight Podcast is live, and you can tune in on your laptop, cell phone, or computers. Give us some support. Give us some feedback. Leave a comment. Let us know how we're doing, or what kind of shows you would like to see. Or maybe you want to be my next guest. Give us a call at 877. Matter of fact, I'm just going to put the number on there, 888-552-1944. Once again, the number is 888-552-1944. And maybe you want to be a guest on the Stewart Spotlight Podcast. You know, I'm always coming up with a saying or a little something. Because a friend of mine has always sent me these saying per week. And I like this one. This is really nice. Progress. Plan your steps. Recognize your strength. Overcome your fears. Grow through every experience. Reflect on your journey. Energize with positivity. Stay persistent. Shine as you achieve. Wow, that was a deep one. Let that marinate in your spirit. Today's guest, my guest today is LaShonta Salter, an independent benefit consultant. And we're going to talk about Medicare after this short break. Stay tuned. Hi, my name is William Stewart Jr. I'm the host of Stewart Spotlight Podcast. How would you like to be a guest on my show? If you have gone through something, came out of something, and just want to share it, we would love for you to be a guest to discuss any topic related to your situation. Your insight of experience, wisdom, knowledge would be invaluable to our viewers. Who knows? By sharing could help someone who may gone through what you came out of. Sharing is caring. So give us a call, 888-552-1944, so we can schedule you on the next Stewart Spotlight podcast.
That's right. Be my guest. Give us a call. Without further ado, I would like to bring on my guest who's been waiting very patiently in the wing, just waiting patiently. Without further ado, let's bring on my guest for today, Miss LaShonta Salter. How are you, and welcome to the show. So, how you been doing?
Good, can't complain. How about you?
Oh, I can't complain. I could complain, but what good would it do anyway? And how's your family?
All is well.
Okay, great. Because I heard the baby. I know she wanted to see it, so I guess she had
Yes.
to. Well, first
She's
again,
watching it.
I'm sorry.
Yes. She's watching it from downstairs.
Oh, okay, great. Well, once again, I want to thank you for appearing on Stewart Spotlight. And I know you could have done many other things, but I think you are an expert on your field of an independent licensed consultant who, now you are licensed in 7 different states, correct?
Correct, yes.
Could you name the 7 different states you're licensed?
I can't name them all, but Georgia is my main state, Texas, Mississippi, Tennessee, Ohio, South Carolina, North Carolina, Michigan.
Oh my gosh, you just named them all. Now, you've been in the medical field for over 15 years, and how often do you have to get recertification?
I have to get recertified every year. Every year for Medicare specifically, and every 2 years to keep my license.
Oh, wow. Is it difficult, or you have to go through a class, or how does this work?
Initially you have to definitely go through a class, and then every 2 years there are certain certifications you have to take in order to keep it, a certain amount of credit hours that you have to take to maintain your license.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, let's dig right into this because people wants to know about Medicare. So, from what I've seen and heard, there are so many parts to plans: A and B, C, D, E, N, and the list goes on. Where would I start? So, is it a minimum age of 65 you have to join Medicare? Or is it mandatory that you have to enroll into Medicare at 65?
So that's a layered question. So in order to be eligible for Medicare, in general, you have to be at least 65 years or older. However, there are some people who may qualify for if they are, let's say, disabled or have ESRD, who could qualify that are under 65.
Okay, what is ESRD?
It is a certain disability that qualifies to be able to get Medicaid. I can't remember the acronym right now, but it's usually related to our what is ESRD? Don't get me to making guesses. I forget the acronym.
Okay.
But that one, they have another disability, ALS, or anything related to permanent kidney failure that requires dialysis could allow you to be eligible for Medicare under 65.
Okay. So what services are covered under Part A and Part B?
Okay. So Part A, it typically requires our services that fall under hospital services or inpatient services, inpatient hospital services. That would be for A, and then B typically are medical offices services. Like if you were to go get an annual checkup, anything regarding primary care services, specialist services that are outside of the hospital will fall under Medicare Part B.
Oh, wow. And now, when should a person sign up for Medicare to avoid penalties?
Well, that depends. If you are retired and you are 65, then you do not have health coverage through your job, then you would go ahead and apply for Medicare at that point. But if you are still working and you are 65 and older, then you have a decision. You could either keep your health coverage through your job and you don't have to enroll in Medicare Part A and B, or you can go ahead and get Medicare while you are still working. But you don't have to necessarily enroll in Medicare at the point that you turn 65 if you are still working and have credible health insurance through your job.
Oh, wow. Okay, so is there a certain time period when Medicare is open for enrollment, or is it when you become 65, or is it the same?
Good question. So there are different enrollment periods depending on a person's situation. Um, Open enrollment season is getting ready to come up now for most people who are qualified for Medicare, which is October 15th through December 7th. However, there are special enrollment periods for people who are newly enrolled or newly eligible for Medicare, such as when you are turning 65, there's an initial enrollment period to enroll in Medicare, and or let's say you lose coverage, then that could be another example of a special enrollment period to enroll in Medicare.
Okay, so say for instance a person were to turn 65 after the October deadline, such as December or January of the following year. How does that work? Does that impact the enrollment period, or?
Yes, because that's two separate things. So anytime a person is getting ready to enroll or have that age period or that time period when they are turning 65, they have a special enrollment period, and it usually starts 3 months before their birthday month and their month of their birthday, and 3 months after they turn 65 to enroll in Medicare.
Okay, but the actual enrollment period is October the 15th.
Yes, that's for people that's for everyone. So that is for people who are well over the age of 65. Just people who are already qualified for Medicare. Every year there's a time period where they can make some decisions. You can make the decision to enroll in A and B if you have not already done so. Let's say you missed your special enrollment period, you have the opportunity then, or you can disenroll in plans. You can opt to look into Medicare Advantage plans. That is an opportunity for the majority to make some decisions on what plan is best for them, because every year things change. It's often a good reason to get with a benefits enrollment person like myself to kind of review plans, because there's a lot of ups and downs with the economy, a lot of ups and downs with just different competition between insurance companies, to be able to make the best decision for yourself. But during that time is the best time for everybody to have the opportunity to enroll and make changes as necessary.
So what are the premiums and copay for Part A or Part B?
Well, that depends on the type of plan that you are choosing. In general, for Part A, direct, and which is considered to be original Medicare A and B, those premiums could change and vary. For 2026, Part A's deductible for hospital deductible is $1,676 for the hospital deductible alone. There is no premium for Part A. However, for Part B, there is a premium. It's a monthly premium of $288 per year. But however, Medicare Advantage works very differently than A and B by itself. And some of those plans have no monthly premiums or at all. And then you also have Medicare supplemental plans. plans. They are vary from A to G to N, and those premiums will vary depending on the person's situation, um, and of how much that monthly premium could be. So I wouldn't be able to state an actual price for it. Just, if you are interested in a supplemental plan, please reach out to me and we can discuss if you're eligible and then what those costs might be.
Now, I'm going to go back to something you just mentioned. You said there's a monthly fee. You said 288 or 285 per.
280. Yep. The changes for 2026, the Medicare Part B is going up to $288.
And that's
Um,
effective when?
that is effective January 1st,
Because it
2020.
was at 185, correct?
Yes. Wait. No. 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 I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got that. Thank you.
Okay.
So no, that the 288 is the deductible for
Deductible, okay.
Medicare Part B.
Okay.
Yes, correct. Now the Medicare Part B premium is going up as well, and it is going to be, I think, roughly 200 and some odd dollars per month.
Okay. Now, is there
I will give
any,
you the correct number in just a second.
so is there any financial assistance for people with limited income to help offset this cost monthly?
It depends. Everybody's situation is different. And reach out to me if you're interested in any assistance. And that's one of the things that I really love to do is to help my seniors get resources that can help them, especially in this economy. But it's a lot of the resources that are available that can help offset some of the costs are income based. So we just have to, and everybody's situation is different. We can take over and look at and assess, how much your monthly income is, and as well as some other factors to see what we can do to help you offset some of these costs. Also, depending on, like, let's say if you decide some relief could also happen in the form of Medicare Advantage, where they have a lot of options as it relates to give back plans that have become very popular nowadays. Again, especially with the economy, that can help relieve some financial some of the financial strain of the Medicare Part B premiums. And
Oh,
to be exact, that Medicare Part B premium, it went from 185 in 2025 to $206.50 for that is it will go up to starting January 1st.
oh wow. Okay. So now,
hmm
how does this Medicare savings program works?
Medicare savings.
Yes.
Um, I don't understand what you mean.
Because
It just
I read something where you can contribute to a savings plan that help, or you can have something to take out of your check to a savings plan. I believe I read something like that. Maybe I misread it.
Oh, I'm not 100% sure. I have to
Uh,
look in deeper into that. I'm not sure if you're referring to maybe like a IRA or something like that, but a Medicare
but maybe
savings.
misread. Maybe I misread it because I thought it said something about Medicare savings program. But we can put a pin
Okay,
to
yeah,
that.
let's parking lot that now. I can
Okay,
look
no
into that.
problem. So now, what's the difference? What's the difference between the original Medicare and
hmm
Medicaid?
Okay, that is a good question. So, original Medicare covers, again, it's usually as it relates to Medicare Part A and Part B, and what Medicare covers for seniors. Now, usually Medicare covers 80% of the cost. Medicaid and Medicare is funded by um, the federal government. Now, Medicaid is funded by the state. And what Medicaid does, depending on what you qualify for, let's say it's full Medicaid, it will cover the 20% that Medicare does not cover.
Hmm,
But
okay.
it is based off, it's income based.
So how would one person from the state maybe qualify? Do they have to fill out an application? Do they go online? How do they do that?
Yes, that's another thing that I really love to do, because oftentimes people don't know that they qualify or don't look to see if they or even try to qualify. So you can apply either um, online or just fill out a form. I assist a lot of my clients with filling those paperwork out. Again, it is income based. We start by assessing your assets and the income that you have coming in to determine if you may qualify. There's two Medicaid is broken for seniors down to a full and partial Medicaid. So oftentimes you may qualify for partial. Partial will pay, the state will pay for your Medicare Part B premiums,
Hmm.
or depending on your income, you may qualify for full Medicaid. If you qualify for full Medicaid, like I said, the Medicaid will then pay not only your Medicare Part B premiums, but it will also pay 20% of your the 20% of the expenses that Medicare does not cover, which can really help out when it comes to your deductibles, your co-insurance, and your cost share.
Now, you mentioned earlier, and I'm going back because you mentioned something about the Medigap. What is the difference between the Medigap supplemental insurance versus the Medicare Advantage when it comes to cost?
Okay, so it's if you look at it like this, Medicare supplements, also known as Medigap. It they call it the Cadillac of all plans, depending on because it's flexible. However, the difference is with supplemental plans, you get to maintain your Medicare Part A and Part B, while the supplement fills in the gaps of what Medicare does not cover. However, the premiums are typically usually a larger or more expensive cost than your Medicare Advantage plans. Oftentimes, Medicare Advantage plans, those are privately owned insured plans, also known as what is it called? Managed care, where the insurance is basically covering the same. It covers what Medicare covers, but it also covers things that maybe that Medicare does not cover. So depending on what the person's needs are, you know, would kind of depend on which option they will go for. Oftentimes, with Medicare Advantage plans, what makes them so popular is because oftentimes you can get a Medicare Advantage plan at zero cost, as well as get additional benefits that Medicare does not cover, like dental and vision. But you you're basically paying as you go. So every time you go to a doctor, you may incur a co-insurance, or you may have to pay a percentage of the cost of certain services like hospital stays. Compared to supplemental, you're paying a large amount of money up front each month to have the freedom to go to any doctor that accepts Medicare and not have to pay the co-insurance each time you go. Well, depending on the type of plan that you have, or not have to pay large, like pay larger amounts of money. Like, let's say if you need a lab or EKG or MRI, you're paying it basically up front compared to Medicare Advantage plans where you're paying as you go.
So basically, you're saying that it really depends on the situation if you want to take the advantage versus the uh, uh, supplemental. Uh,
Yes.
all of the vision, dental, and things of that nature up under the advantage versus
Hmm.
which supplemental doesn't cover all those. I did my research on this a little bit.
You sure did. You sure did.
Okay, so
Yes, that is correct.
so let's talk about all these alphabets.
Okay.
It went from A through all the ways. Now, what prescription drugs are covered under Part D?
What prescription drugs are
Right.
covered under Part
Part D.
D?
Right.
Okay. So with Part D, there are. It depends on the insurance that you're going with. Each insurance company is going to have their own formulary. And so if you are picking a Part D to go with your A and B insurance, if you're going that route, or maybe even picking up a supplemental to add to it, then you would want to first identify, number one, what type of medications you're currently on, and then review the formularies for each insurance company to determine what it covers. But overall, in short, it covers just all insurances that are covered under Part D, like blood pressure medications, cholesterol. It's a number of different types of medications that it covers. However, there are some medications that are covered under Part B, but those are typically the medications that are administered at the doctor's office, like injections and things of that nature. So essentially, any medications that are not administered in the doctor's office are typically covered under Part D.
Now, is there a deductible and a cost associated with the Part D?
Yes, there is a deductible, and as a matter of fact, with all the changes that have been occurring, that deductible has increased as well. So the deductible for Part D was for just Part D solely. If you just had a Part D plan, would be $590 in 2025. Now it's going to go up to $615 a year. That's if you have Part D alone. And usually the Part D, on average, is only pertaining to tiers 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, but usually tiers 3, 4, and 5 would it be affected by the Part D deductible.
So I'm assuming that the 3, 4, 5, 6 are specialty drugs.
Yeah, no, it's Part 6. Tier 6 is a specialty drug, and on average, that tier is not typically affected by Part D, but it really depends and varies. We're trying to speak generalities here. It depends on, again, what plan you choose on how the deductible is affected. And oftentimes, that deductible that I gave you, again, is on average for a Part D plan. Let's say if you go with a Part C, which is a Medicare Advantage plan, that includes Part D deductible. Excludes Part D into the Medicare Advantage plan. The pharmacy deductible can vary. It may be, oftentimes could be less than the deductible that I just quoted. So it's, again, do your research, find out what's best for you, your medications, depending on the type of medications you have. You want to pick the best plan for you, because the cost of medications also vary depending on whether or not you're going with a tier, whether or not your medications are a tier 1 or a tier 4.
Okay.
And the higher the tier, typically, the higher the cost of your medications.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe President Biden, when he was in office, that he put a cap on medication, or so therefore, once you reach that cap, that I think is of $2,000, what happened then?
Yes, it was called the Inflation Reduction Act, to where I was surprised, but to where a patient did not have to spend no more than $2,000 for the year. before the insurance is then responsible for paying, or before the client the patient no longer had to pay any more cost in medications. It's $2,000 for the year. Now that cap has gone up, has increased. So for 2026, the cap is $2,100,
Okay.
which is still pretty good compared to where we have been in the past.
Right. Can you hang in there for one moment? We're going to take a little small commercial break, and we're going to come back with Miss Salter, the benefit consultant. We'll be right back after this break. And we are back with Miss Shante Salter. We was just talking about the different tiers. And I understand you mentioned about the tier 1 through 6 and the specialty drugs. But now, how does Medicare take care of your vision or dental or hearing? Or is that a totally different plan?
Well, it depends. So, in theory, those are totally different plans. That's where your Medicare Advantage comes in, where and why I think they tend to be so popular, because you can get in a Medicare Advantage plan some dental and vision included, as well as your medication Part D included in the Medicare Advantage plan.
Oh, really? Now, that's up under the Advantage plan. Now, what about the supplemental plan?
Supplemental is just filling in the gaps of what Medicare A and B do not cover.
Okay.
So with the supplemental plan, it's straight just filling in the gaps, and then that's why you also need to get a Part D plan in addition to a supplement, because the supplement is just complementing what A and B covers.
Okay.
Keeping intact the original Medicare structure of the insurance.
So let me make sure I got this correct. So therefore, if you're getting Part A and B, which is basically somewhat, maybe I'm using the words mandatory, that you must have the A and B, correct?
Yes, mandatory. If you do not have credible insurance through your job, then it's mandatory to have A and B.
Okay, so therefore, then you're looking for some kind of supplemental to, if you're, I'm just going to use a number, if your medical bill is $1,000, Medicare is only going to pick up 80%, and you would need that supplemental to pick up the additional 20%. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's the gap, Medic gap.
Yes, it fills in the gap.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and not everybody everybody's situation is going to be different. To your point, there's so many different letters, and everybody's situation is different on what's going to be best for them. But it may be wise to consider, if you don't want to go the Medicare Advantage route, to consider a supplement in helping to fill in those gaps.
So now, what about this Part N? What is Part N?
Okay, Part N is an option of a Medicare supplement that has become more popular lately, because again, the way the economy is, everybody's trying to save some money So oftentimes, now if you are eligible at this point for are just getting ready to turn 65, there was a supplement called F, which covered, it was like the Cadillac of all the supplemental plans. Now, no longer, people who are turning 65 no longer qualify for the F anymore. So now that the options, the more popular options are G and N. N is a supplemental plan that covers almost as much as what G covers. However, it is at a lower cost, and so it some of the so it's the difference of the G versus the N is that the N requires you to have to pay a co-payment for hospital if you were to be admitted to the ER, the hospital, excuse me, or if when you see your doctor, your specialist doctor, or your primary care doctor.
Oh wow.
That's
So
the short difference.
so I'm gonna give you a scenario. If a person were
Mhm.
to have to be transferred by an ambulance to a hospital
Mhm.
for emergency care,
Mhm.
is that picked up under Part B or is it A?
That's a good question. I believe it's A, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can get that question
So
answered.
I was just curious about that because if you're picked up, what part of the insurance would be kicking in, and is that, and since A or B is only paying 80%, so that means that supplemental would be kicking in to pick up the other additional 20%. I'm assuming.
Right. Part B is
Part
what it
B,
was.
okay. So
Yeah.
that's up under the Part B for the ambulance going to take you to the hospital for
Yes.
X-rays or whatever. Okay. So now, are wellness visits, prevention, screening, vaccination fully covered by A or B, or A and B?
Wellness screenings are covered by B.
By B. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, well, that's another question then. Should a person check out their physician or hospital to see if Medicare is being covered by A and B, or does all hospital uh, is covered by Medicare?
In general, hospitals cover Medicare, but you do want to double check with your doctor's office or any new doctors to ensure that they accept Medicare.
Okay. Now, I need to piggyback on something you said earlier. You said they used to have a Part F, but they
Yes,
discontinued. But what about
yes,
if you were grandfathered in the F? Do you still continue to use the F, or do you have to apply for another plan?
yes. If you're grandfathered into a plan, then you generally get to keep the plan. Now, if you decide that for whatever reason, um, in speaking about supplements in general, if you decide that you wanted to try an Advantage plan, you have a certain window to go back to your supplemental plan. However, once you leave your supplemental plan for a certain amount of time period and you want to go back to the F, you would not be able to go back to the F. But you could go back to another option, but then you will have to be underwritten to go back into a supplemental plan. And in depending on what has occurred in your life during the time you did not have your supplemental plan, you may not qualify anymore.
Wow.
Like
So if you're not qualified, what would happen? You don't have any kind of health coverage if they deny
then you
you?
can go to a, then you would either just stick with your A and B
Okay.
coverage, or you would try options under the Advantage plan, which do
Okay.
not require no, do not require a person to be underwritten.
Oh, okay. So what happened if a person needs long-term care or nursing
Mm.
home services? Is that covered up under A or B?
Long-term care is not covered under, well, long-term care, nursing, what is it called? Nursing home, skilled nursing
Hmm.
is covered under A, but that's for a certain amount of time period. Um, then you may want to, look into long-term care insurance
Hmm.
at some point if that is necessary for the longer periods of time that are needed. And there's various different, and it depends again on the situation. For like you say, long-term care, a set, reaching out to maybe a care, what do you call those people? Uh, Counselor or care manager who can kind of steer you into the right way of what you may need for your loved one. Perhaps it's assisting living, maybe it's nursing. It depends on the person, but overall, long term care is a separate insurance.
Wow. Okay, now suppose if a person has two residents, they
Mhm.
live in Florida, they live in
Mhm.
California.
Okay.
Does that work across the board, or do you have to be in a network for the A and B, or because if you're living in two different states, how does the Medicare works?
It works just fine. I have clients that live um 6 months in one state, 6 months in another state. What do they call it? Snow bunnies? Snow, not snow bunny,
Snow bunnies.
snow birdie. But it works just fine. Generally, they would have insurance in the state that they have um, their Social Security comes out of.
Mhm.
But they would just typically make sure that they choosing insurance that could that is uh, doable in both states. So and it depends. So the question is kind of layered depending on what type of insurance they have. If it's just A and B with a supplemental plan, um, again, as long as they're going to a doctor that accepts Medicare, there is no issues. However, if it's a Medicare Advantage plan, they want to make sure that they're choosing a plan that is accepted typically in both states,
Mhm.
um, but they shouldn't have any problems overall, depending on the type of plan they choose. It, but again, you want to if they know that they're doing that, like let's say they choose Humana, then it's just gonna be a matter of letting the doctor know that they are going to a different state. Sorry, it depends on the insurance, um, but overall they shouldn't have any problems if they're doing 6 months in one state, 6 months in another state.
Because suppose you go out the
It should be a
country.
matter of just updating and communicating.
Suppose you
I'm
go out the
sorry.
country. Suppose you go out the country. How does that work?
It out of the country, you could be covered for medically a medical emergency,
Okay.
but it wouldn't work out of the country
Oh, so therefore, if you were to
other
take,
than for emergencies.
so if you were to take a trip out the country and you
hmm
get sick, it
hmm
wouldn't work. So you better get back to the state so you can be
No,
taken.
medical emergencies Medicare will cover
Oh, okay.
out,
Okay.
out of the country.
Okay. Have a couple more questions because now what's going on? Because this big, beautiful bill that was passed, how does this affect people pockets and the services that's forthcoming?
The big beautiful bill and
Yes,
how
that
would it affect?
yes, because Mr. Trump has cut back a lot of different things. So I'm just trying to figure out how is this going to affect people pocket and how is it going to affect the services? Because my understanding, if he's doing a lot of cutting,
hmm
hospitals and things of that nature, is this going to affect people going to the hospital? And is the cost going to go up on the Medicare? How does that work?
Well, I think we already can see the costs going up
Hmm.
on Medicare. I don't know if it's necessarily due to the big beautiful bill per se, but just the economy in general. We've been on an upward hill since COVID. I hate to bring that up it feels like it's been so long ago, but everything is still going up, unfortunately. And so, what it has done, however, is because at one point there were, especially around, usually around open enrollment, there's always all these political commentaries and ups and downs and regarding just insurance in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think what it has done is allowed us to scale back on Medicare Advantage plans in general, because oftentimes people have gone away as it relates to Medicare Advantage plans, in particular from actual insurance, and now it's allowing us to kind of redirect and focus on insurance coverage, and extras being just that, extras, but not depending on the extras, because even with the Medicare Advantage plans, there's been a lot of cutbacks on some of those extra benefits that were provided before, have been slowly scaling back year by year. I don't know if you've ever heard of, in the commercials they talk about these food cards.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
yeah, so a lot of that stuff is being cut more and more each year. And I think that's kind of a, not necessarily a good thing, because people depend on them, but it's making people go back to the basics,
Mm-hmm.
redirect the actual need, and focus. Let's get back to focusing on coverage for healthcare. What is making sure that the hospital stays are, the hospital co-payments are low, and your specialist co-pays. Focus on the actual insurance and not so much the vision and the dental. Like, that's good. I mean, it's always good to have bundles, and especially when our seniors are low income. But there we are. I don't know if are we in a recession? I'm not sure if we're in a recession, but we're definitely, groceries are high. The interest rates are high. There are so many things that are impacting our economy. So I think we are affected. I just, and we're going to continue to be affected up until things start to balance out. Hopefully things start balancing out come soon. But yes, everything is going up, as you can see. And we keep going up year by year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, last week I took a little poll, and I had the viewers to send in questions because I knew you was going to be on this week, and
Hmm.
I don't understand with this Medicare that you would think they would make it much easier for senior citizen, other than learning all these different programs and
Yes.
supplemental and advantage, and you know you're getting older. People don't have time to be reading all this stuff, and just make it easy and say, okay, this is a plan that's going to cover A, B, C, D, all this stuff like that. But
Yes.
anyway, I'm just raving. I received a text, an email from Carolyn from New York, and she says, "Does Medicare cover all my hospital and doctor bill when and what would I have to pay out of pocket?"
No. In general, and again, it depends on what type of plan you're referring to. If you're just referring to A and B, it will not cover all of your hospital bill. But it depends on what you're getting. If you are going for A and B and you're getting a supplemental plan, it may cover a lot more of your hospital bill. But it's really too general of a question to really address. However, if you go in with an Advantage plan, then it wouldn't cover all of it, because just like any insurance, you have even with your employer is paying a portion of it, and then you're required to pay a portion of it. There's a a part that we have to pay into it. Same thing with, let's say we're going with A and B, then there would be a portion of in no supplemental plan, and there would be a portion that you would have to pay into it. So
Okay.
not really try to answer that fully, but I guess that's the gist of it.
Okay, because some of the questions I couldn't answer. I mean, couldn't ask a question because I had already put in my notes. So I just pulled some of the questions that
Okay.
wasn't that I wasn't going to talk about. Now, this one
hmm
came from Tyrone from Chicago. What is the
Okay.
difference between Medicare and Medicaid?
Okay. Medicare is funded by the federal government, and it in general is a certain services that are covered under Medicare, like primary care services, just different things of that nature, hospital. But Medicaid um, is funded by the state, and it will cover what Medicare doesn't cover. So there's a list of things that Medicare covers in general, and then whatever Medicare doesn't cover, depending on your level of Medicaid may cover the additional parts of Medicare, but Medicare will be the base. Um, and those services could range anywhere between hospital visits, ambulance, primary care services, acupuncture, chiropractic services,
Wow.
podiatry, etc. And then in Medicaid, if you have full Medicaid, will pay the remainder of what Medicare does not cover.
Wow. Whew.
So state versus federal.
Right. Okay.
hmm
And my last question is from Suzanne from Detroit. She says, what happens if I keep working past 65? Do I still need to sign up for Medicare?
No, well, it depends. If you still have credible health insurance through your job and you work past 65, then you can keep your credible insurance through your job and you don't need Medicare.
Wow. So therefore, if you work past the 65 years of age and you're still working, you don't have to sign up until you actually retire. So you won't get penalized because you reached the age of 65. And oh, that's
No.
good.
Now, some people opt to go ahead and get Part A, which covers the hospital services.
hmm
And then if they do that, then Part A becomes secondary.
So whatever your insurance doesn't pick up, the Part A will pick up.
Yes,
Oh,
on the
wow.
hospital.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, I want to thank those three individuals, Carolyn from New York, Tyrone from Chicago, and Susan from Detroit. I want to thank you for those questions. And for those other individuals who sent questions, I'm sorry we had already answered those during the interview. Um, so before I let you go, I see you love photography and painting in your free time. Tell us about it.
Just a good old pastime. Everybody have something that they do on the side. It brings me joy. I've taken pictures for many, many years. And painting, I'm not an expert or anything, but it's just something relaxing about painting and listening to jazz on a nice day that I enjoy. And oftentimes now I do it with my daughter. So, yeah, I just something I love going to Hobby Lobby. They always got sales.
Okay. Well, is
Yeah.
there is there anything you want to leave with the viewers that, keep them in mind
Yeah.
about Medicare?
Yes, as you're approaching Medicare, just know that you should never do it alone. Um, that you always want to work with a health benefits consultant or an agent to make sure that you're choosing the best plan for yourself. Um, Oftentimes, you are getting a lot of phone calls if you are approaching 65 or um, well over 65. You're getting a lot of phone calls all the time, all day, from strangers over the phone. And sometimes, oftentimes that's not wise to engage in those conversations. Be mindful of responding to questions with yes. I hear so many horror stories about people getting enrolled into a plan because they were just engaging in a conversation. There's so much fraud going on, and oftentimes, um, you know, um, you oftentimes these people are not who they say they are. They may be saying that they're calling on behalf of CMS or Medicare. Medicare never calls. Um, and if they might be calling, they may say that I'm calling on behalf of Humana. That may be true, but then again, it may not be true. So be mindful of who you're speaking to, strangers on the phone, and always just try to build a relationship with someone local in your area who can help you. I'm personally local in the area of Georgia, and I am willing to assist in helping people to in just reviewing benefits. It's just a conversation, and not everything is going to work for everyone, but just presenting all the facts and just being non-biased. I am again, an independent agent, and I am licensed in a number of states and contracted with just about every plan in Georgia, except for Clover at the moment. So if you just have questions, if you just want to have a discussion, please feel free to reach me, and I'll be happy to assist you.
Yes, I really appreciate that. And also, as she mentioned, you can reach her from at 678-232-4200, and you see her email at the bottom, so will be able to answer any of those questions, or you may have other questions. She's an independent benefit consultant, so feel free to give her a call, and maybe she can help you out. But with that being said, Ms. Salty, I want to really appreciate you coming on the show today and educate us about Medicare and Part A, Part B, Part C, D, E, all the letters. But thank you, and feel free to keep us informed about any new changes, because there's a lot of senior citizens out there who's maybe reaching the age of 65 and maybe a little bit confused about all these calls that people are calling them, and literature, and you're getting older and you don't have time to be going through all this fluff. You need somebody to just go straight to the point and say, okay, this is what you need, this is how you're going to do it, and so forth and so on. And I applaud you for being knowledgeable about the different plans. So, but like I said before, feel free to come back anytime. I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, you have a nice weekend, okay?
Same to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
That was Miss LaShanta Salt. I cannot pronounce that lady name. I'm going to get it right. Anyway, but I appreciate her coming on the show this evening and explaining a little bit about the Medicare. Next week guest is Alicia Corley. She's going to be on next week, and she's an educator and she's a minister. That's going to be very interesting, because I've known Alicia for a long time, and she's going to have a few things to say about being an educator and being a minister. So tune in next week to hear what she has to say. Before I leave, I'm always having a quote, and I'm going to keep this. I'm going to say this quote all the time because I really enjoyed this one right here. It says, "Your life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change." Keep that in mind. Well, until next week, in the meantime, be careful, be safe, and be kind to others. Have a good night.